This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my weekly review of Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter, the points I find interesting in it. Now, I am a few days late with it this week. Before I get started, I do have a little bit of a black eye. Piper tripped me last night, my little dog. I guess she was mad that I left her with my parents for the weekend and decided to trip me. And I landed face first on the cement. So, naughty girl, she is a little mischievous sometimes. Also, if you're wondering who the new Great North Wrestling Women's Champion is that I put on the cover of this, it is Nova, who won the title, which had been vacated from Shiloh over the weekend in Kingston. We did two tapings, and the reason we did two tapings is I had a bit of a nightmare organizing those events. The regulations for Ontario are still very restrictive, but the city of Kingston went from saying I was going to be allowed 500 in the arena to 100 total, 50 in the stands, 50 on the floor, which by the time they told me that, we had already pretty much sold all of those tickets for the first event, which is why with only about 6 days notice, we added a second event. So the original event, we actually had to turn people away at the door because there was a health inspector at the door making sure we had no more than 100. And the second show that we added with only about 5 or 6 days notice, we had 85 fans at. So because of this, I'm going to be very careful with promoting other events. I'm just glad that we still got to put on the event because everyone tried really hard and we got all the matches on tape. It was a very good taping. Our production values are going to be continuing to improve, but it was good to be back, and hopefully restrictions are going to keep being lifted, but that was a nightmare to deal with. I've never had to actually turn multiple people away at the door before, which is just a nightmare because there was no way we were going to make money on those events from the gate with the restrictions that were put on us. But we did the best we can, and the fans seem to love it. And that's what it's all about. And the wrestlers were happy to perform again. Some of them haven't been able to perform in like a year and a half. So that's my report on the Great North Wrestling event. There's already some of the matches posted on the Hannibal TV, more to come. And some of the matches are actually going to be broadcast by Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. So looking forward to having that happen. Let's get into the news. Apparently, according to Mike Johnson, WWE issued an internal memo yesterday afternoon stating that Adam Cole is no longer with WWE. Obviously, that probably means he's going to AEW. SmackDown last Friday, which apparently Brock Lesnar was advertised for, but I don't believe he showed up on the show, did a 0.59 rating. Rampage did a 0.34 rating on the AEW Friday night show. SummerSlam was WWE's most successful live SummerSlam as it drew their largest live gate in the history of the company for a non-WrestleMania show. I think the Wembley Stadium 92 SummerSlam, which was one of my favorite SummerSlams, was higher attended, but ticket prices would have been cheaper at that time. Nick Khan, the president of WWE, did an interview with Ariel Helwani, who apparently he used to represent And he said, quote, in terms of an NXT rebrand, look for it in the next couple of weeks. It's going to have a whole new look. It's going to have a whole new feel. And we believe, because of a lot of the indie wrestlers, if you will, have come through our system and are in the system with SmackDown and Raw now, we don't want to just keep doing the same thing. We want to look elsewhere for great young talent, end quote. So in other words, they don't want to hire wrestlers. They want to hire other athletes. Good luck to you. That's not going to be successful. I'm sorry. I've talked about it before. The Road Warriors were green when they were still higher, but there was territories. They had gone to wrestling school. Ultimate Warrior got his push early, but he had gone to a wrestling school and been through the territories. Goldberg was probably the most successful wrestler to go straight from the power plant to WCW and become a mainstream star. That is one in the history of wrestling. The Fiend and Roman Reigns both came from FCW. Braun Strowman, they both came, never had to do the independents, were spoiled their whole careers. In the Fiend's case, his dad was in the Hall of Fame and an agent, so he got that special treatment. Roman Reigns is from the Rock's family. He's a former CFL player. But they never reached the success of a Goldberg. So I just think it's bad. You don't scout NHL hockey players from football. Just doesn't work that way. And as I said, I had a couple CFL tryouts with no CFL experience. I did pretty good. I actually had a lot of fun, particularly at the Princeton one. But they told me to go play semi-pro for a year and come back with footage. They didn't want to just sign me to the practice squad right away. So, I mean, I didn't want to get to training. I didn't like football enough. So, I mean, it's the same thing. If you want to hire people that have never liked wrestling enough to actually become a wrestler, they're not going to have the passion and the drive to be successful. And NXT isn't even doing house shows anymore. So where are they going to get their experience from? Gable Stevenson met with Vince McMahon over the weekend in Las Vegas. Apparently he did not meet with Dana White. Now, Gable Stevenson, he could be an exception. He's an Olympic gold medalist, an NCAA champion. So that's a little bit different. And he has done amateur wrestling, which is similar, and he is a wrestling fan. He follows wrestling. He could be, I mean, Kurt Angle, you could say did it, but he did work the Memphis territory. But Kurt Angle was another exception, but Angle was never over as much as Goldberg. For the Summer of Cena, WWE shows, both house shows and TV tapings. There's still that Madison Square Garden SmackDown combined show in September. But he sold an average of an extra 2,584 tickets after he was announced in the shows that had tickets that were already on sale. That was an average of a 46% increase in ticket sales. Pat McAfee tested positive for COVID after SummerSlam, so he's going to be off about 2 weeks recovering from that. Charlotte Flair did Renee Young's podcast and discussed fans criticizing her for missing the WWE house show in Charlotte that she was advertised for, to which she said, quote, "What a silly thing," end quote. She asked for the time off and was given the time off. Granted, Meltzer saying this, being advertised the show is on WWE. Then Charlotte went on to say, quote, "I actually thought people would be more like, wow, that's how much her relationship means to her," end quote. Well, Charlotte, when you're advertised for a fucking show and fans buy tickets to see you at a show you're advertised on and you're not there, You think they're going to say, oh, that's sweet. She's going to watch her boyfriend wrestle in Mexico, even though we spent a fortune on WWE tickets to see you. I realize you had the time off, but WWE kept advertising you for the show. So all of this was one of the things that also led to WCW's downfall. And I mean, apparently WWE did this with saying Lesnar was going to be on SmackDown last week and he wasn't. When you advertise people that don't appear on shows, those fans do not come back the next time because they get pissed off and they feel ripped off. So the more this happens, the more it's going to affect the company. And it's just funny. I mean, if I buy a ticket to see Kiss and Gene Simmons is going to support her, his wife that's in a play or doing a movie somewhere, and it's a different singer than Gene Simmons, you think I'm going to go, oh, that's so sweet. He loves his wife so much. Now I got to see the replacement. Like, it makes no sense. Don't advertise people that aren't going to be there. This other shady company, SWE Fury, has done this 2 events in a row, and they've recently lost their TV deal. Advertising people that aren't going to be on the shows. This past weekend, they did a show that they advertised Teddy Long for, Scott Steiner, Selena De La Renta, and Chavo Guerrero. None of them were at the show. They didn't provide any reason why any of them weren't on the show. They'd also said the show was going to air live on Facebook, and apparently it didn't. They didn't announce anything about fans getting refunds. So it's that kind of crap why the company like SWE is going down the shitter right now too. I understand they canceled their September 11th show. You can't lie about people that are going to show up. You did it for your Lubbock show too. Advertise people and they don't show up. I mean, it eventually affects your business. Natalya made a quick return after an ankle injury on SmackDown this weekend after having surgery. Apparently, she had a state-of-the-art procedure that got her back in 3 weeks, and she didn't have to drop the tag team titles. As I said before, thank God she's in WWE and has access to that. In Canada here, you're looking at least like a 6-month wait on average to get surgeries. And COVID, man, it's even worse. Just to get an MRI, it's 6 months a lot of the times. It's free healthcare, but it's real slow. WWE and other companies' attendance. WWE for SmackDown in Phoenix, August 20th, had 8,000 paid, 1,500 comps for a total of 10,000. The CM Punk Rampage debut in Chicago did a sellout of 15,316 with 14,500 paid. Ring of Honor at the ECW Arena, August 20th, did 390, which, by the way, I think the Battleground Championship Wrestling show, September 18th, that I'm going to be covering, featuring Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Matt Hardy, Brian Cage, Raven, Lil Guido, a bunch of other stars. I think that has a really good pre-sale right now. So I suggest people get tickets for that, September 18th. August 21st, ROH did a little bit better. Same place, 482 fans. August 22nd, WWE in Denver did 6,168 fans. August 23rd, WWE Raw in San Diego. The taping there did 5,700 paid, 7,000 total in the building. August 23rd, NXT in Orlando did 180 fans. August 25th, the AEW tapings in Milwaukee. or Milwaukee, as they said in Wayne's World, is the proper way that the Indians used to pronounce it. Did 5,200 paid and 5,000. Sorry, that was the AEW Dark and Elevation and Rampage taping and Dynamite tapings, not Rampage. 5,200 paid, 5,600 total, and CM Punk was on that card. In other wrestling news, I would consider him a friend. I'm friends with one of his daughters, Brick Bronski, real name Jeff Beltzner, who wrestled from 85 to 98 under the name Brick Bronski, passed away August 23rd due to complications from COVID, but he also had underlying health issues. He'd been in a coma. I think I was the first wrestling reporter to announce it. His friend Doug had told me about it, and Doug's going to be appearing on my show in a week or two. Meltzer says the two things he was best known for are his fight with Brian Pillman in Calgary in '88 and starring in several movies, including Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, Class of Nukem High 2, Subhumanoid Meltdown, and Class of Nukem High 3, The Good, the Bad, and the Subhumanoid. Now, if you are a weed smoker, I would suggest you smoke something before watching those. Bronski had been a high-level bodybuilder and powerlifter who was trained in pro wrestling by Brad Reagans and Mr. Hito, and had a good run in Stampede Wrestling, did some WWE matches. There is a great 3-hour interview with him on my channel, and we were supposed to do a part 2, and I'm very sad that it never happened. Never, ever did I expect him to pass away. It's really sad that he passed away. He had his kids are in their early 20s. He's got 3 kids, actually 2 daughters and a son. So I felt like we were friends, and I'm really sorry about that. I think I still have the movie cover here, but the Masked Mutilator wrestling movie. Yeah, I do. I should clean my desk. Let me get it. The Masked Mutilator. It's actually a great movie. If you like horror movies, even though it was just released recently, they filmed it in the 90s, and it's up on YouTube Movies. I would highly recommend it to horror movie fans, particularly if you're an 80s horror movie fan and you also like wrestling. Ed Asner, who played in the original Wrestler movie with Vern Gagne, passed away at 91 this weekend. Trevor Murdoch beat Nick Aldis, who had held the title way too long. I think something like 3 years. Was stale, beyond stale, actually. Won the title over the weekend in St. Louis. They sold 856 tickets on a card that featured Ric Flair. So even though I wouldn't say Trevor Murdoch, if I was in charge of the NWA, and you fans can write who you would have made champion in the comments, I like Trevor Murdoch. He was trained by Harley Race, but you couldn't exactly say he's hot. You couldn't exactly say he's going to bring a lot of notoriety to the NWA product and boost its popularity a lot. I mean, there's a match of his on this channel that in 3 or 4 months has a couple thousand views, and that was an NWA national title defense. Like I would have, with all the money Billy Corgan has, I would have put it on Braun Strowman. I mean, he is fresh off WWE. He would have put a lot more eyes on the product. That's just my opinion, and I'm not even a Braun Strowman fan. I'm just thinking to myself, who could have brought more eyes to the product? Trevor Murdoch has been in the NWA this whole time. It seems like he's wrestled all this a million times, to be perfectly honest with you. It seems like that was the most common opponent. So it's like I would have liked to have seen a fresh face that would have brought more attention to the product rather than a guy that's been there all along and really isn't that hot of a wrestler. But I wish him luck. I got no personal issues with him. I've interviewed him, but I'm not surprised by that choice. I'm not sure that that's the best publicity choice. They're very lucky at the NWA that AEW is working with them and publicizing them. CMLL lost one of their top stars this week. Mystico has left the promotion after announcing they've pulled out of Dallas on September 11th. The MLW taping in Tijuana that they were working with the Crash for is also canceled. It was going to be on the same day. Meltzer says he's not sure what happened. He also states MLW was about to announce a new streaming deal to the point where there was a date for the announcement set, and that date has passed with no words. And he says right now everything is quiet on the MLW front. I did see something that their owner, Court Bauer, posted a few weeks ago saying that they were getting off both Vice and YouTube. They never did good YouTube numbers. Neither did NWA. Considering the amount of money both those companies have, I get like a incomparably higher amount than both of those companies, considering I'm just a regular person. Not a rock star or a lawyer like Court Bauer with a lot of connections, but who knows what's going to happen with MLW. There's some people on their roster that I'm friends with, obviously, such as Joseph Samael, who is the owner of PCW Ultra, who I work with, and actually PCW Ultra content airs on this channel. So who knows? In MMA news, Jake Paul beat Tyrone Woodley over the weekend. A lot of people are mad, but the bottom line is the boxing people can be as mad as they want. As long as those pay-per-views are selling a lot, they're going to keep having those matches because it's a business. And I mean, even Logan Paul, Jake's brother, appeared on, I think it was Raw or SmackDown. I forget. I'm so sorry. I forget if it was Raw or SmackDown last week, but it was like one of the highest ratings of the year, the second or third highest rating of the year. UFC on ESPN 29, August 21st, did a 0.16 for the prelims, 0.34 for the main card. So wrestling does usually beat UFC in ratings. Doesn't beat them in pay-per-views, but in ratings, yes. Get into someone else. Victor Murphy says hello. Carlos says congratulations on our event and getting those matches in with Noah. As I said, I mean, it's unfortunate that they didn't tell me that I could only have a 100-person limit from the start, or we could have planned for that better instead of adding the second show with short notice. But it was still better than having tapings in front of no fans. The fans that were there were really loud. And I mean, Jeremy Prophet and Mike Bailey had an amazing match. The second event. And I know Jeremy Prophet in his post-match interview was almost in tears just because he was so happy to wrestle again. Because for us Canadians, like, it's been brutal. When wrestling is your passion and you can't do your passion, it's terrible. So to get in front of the fans and feel the live audience to these wrestlers, it's great. Brian Rose collapse. Victor Murphy says 4:20. Well, I'm working out at 6. It's only 5:30 here now, so I won't be doing that. But I am wearing a tweed hat, which is a plant in Smith Falls, Ontario, where Great North Wrestling goes pretty much every year. And guess what they do there? They grow weed because it's legal here in Canada. Robert said he saw Raw tonight, and he was happy to see Nia Jax versus Charlotte. Did not see it. Desmond says Kiss has just signed for residency in Las Vegas. Someone giving the puff puff sign. Matt checking in from North Carolina. Mark is saying what Piper did to me looks nice. Yeah, thanks a lot, Piper. She's under the table sleeping right now. Who is that in the thumbnail? That is Nova, the new Great North Wrestling Women's Champion of Canada. Her match is going to be posted soon. The $1 Million Man, Bill, has tipped me $20. Really appreciate your contribution, Bill. Bill, type me in some names you'd like to see me do interviews with in the next month or so. D1 says Trevor Murdoch as champ is lazy booking by Corgan. Just a vanity project. Not a bad wrestler. Was fun in a tag team, but a world champion, not for me. I mean, he's also not in good shape. You could check out his match on here. I'll post it right now. Is the match that we put on the Hannibal TV that we got permission for, and I own the copyright rights to for that. Hold on. He looked extremely fat, so I hope he at least lost some weight since then. It was posted on March 5th, and it has 4,000 views since March 5th. So again, not extremely hot, but like I personally, if I had the money that Billy Corgan had, I just posted that in the clips if you want to see Trevor Murdoch in action. But I don't know if he's a needle mover, as the WWE president, Tony Khan, would say. Anthony, I said it at the start, Piper tripped me. I fell face first on the pavement. Desmond says AJ Lee is hot. I'll tell you a piece of trivia, Desmond. AJ Lee was signed from the same WWE tryout camp I was signed from. And yeah, she was hot even back then. She certainly wasn't skilled then. They signed her for her looks. And my contract was rescinded because I had a medical issue. For everyone that says, all the trolls that like to say, Hannibal, you were not good enough for WWE. Well, I was actually signed by them. I had a medical issue, which I got fixed, but then they see me as damaged goods. So thanks a lot for the tip, Bill. I'm going off to the gym, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates.